Chapter 71. Agility training focuses mainly on speed and reaction capabilities, especially speed. If the agility attribute is improved, there will be a noticeable feedback in speed. However, as if to verify Shen Xingyan's conjecture, not long after he began agility training, his body speed significantly improved. After stopping, he opened his attribute panel and saw that, sure enough, his agility attribute, like his strength attribute, had increased by 1 point, and his speed had also increased accordingly. Feeling the sense of becoming stronger that the attribute increase brought, Shen Xingyan couldn't help but smile. It should be known that these are all permanent attribute increases, not the temporary attributes that come with martial skills. They can be said to be the true foundation for establishing oneself. He had just experienced the thrill of dual attribute increases in such a short period 2 days ago, and he hadn't expected to experience it again today. Such a situation might not be uncommon among prominent families, but for a small person at the bottom like Shen Xingyan, the probability of this happening is extremely small. This made him look up and sigh, feeling an indescribable sense of accomplishment in his heart. Subsequently, Shen Xingyan quickly adjusted his emotions. In this public area, he still needed to pay attention to his words and actions to avoid any negative consequences from getting carried away. He then continued his training. The attribute increase did not affect Shen Xingyan's execution of his subsequent training plan. He was also clear that some of the recent rapid attribute increases were due to recent external factors. But more importantly, they were supported by the foundation he had accumulated before his awakening. And now that these attributes had successively improved, he felt that his accumulated foundation was probably almost depleted. Although in the future, with the existence of comprehension skills, as primordial energy increases, the effect of martial skill improvements on the body will also become greater and greater, and the speed of improvement will become quite considerable. But what he could do now was to make good use of his current conditions, to move forward step by step without slacking off. Although the progress was slight, he felt very secure. Shen Xingyan's training continued until Shen Xingyang's school dismissal time arrived. Only then did he leave the training hall and return home with his younger sister. "Brother, why do I feel so energetic today? After a whole day of training, I don't have that hunger I used to have. Was yesterday's rabbit meat that effective?" On the way back, Shen Xingyang excitedly bounced around, recounting this exciting matter, as if its occurrence was a beautiful ray of light on her life's journey, making her feel incredibly curious. In the past, after training, Shen Xingyang would always feel a strong sense of hunger due to her growing body and insufficient daily nutrition. Such frequent occurrences had made her, at a young age, somewhat accustomed to it, although the feeling was indeed very uncomfortable. And today, this familiar feeling did not appear, which made her happy and subconsciously attributed the reason to last night's rabbit meat. Shen Xingyan, who had experienced the same situation as his younger sister, heard her words and lovingly stroked her head. He secretly made up his mind that he could not let his younger sister suffer the same hardships he had endured. Shen Xingyan knew the truth about his younger sister's feeling. It should be the effect of the physique potion. But since his younger sister thought it was due to the rabbit meat, he didn't correct her. It was good that she thought so. After the siblings returned home and finished dinner, they each returned to their respective rooms. Shen Xingyang began to exercise, while Shen Xingyan lay directly on his bed. If such a scene were to occur in a family long ago, Shen Xingyan's behavior would undoubtedly be met with criticism for being uneducated and loving discipline. But in this era, it is something worth advocating. No one will say anything. Almost every professional is in this state. They are not sleeping, but striving for a better tomorrow. Shen Xingyan's consciousness entered the planting space. He cast his innate skill to summon his 15th little skeleton, and continued to hand over the freshly emerged little skeleton to Wang Kai for training. He then focused his attention on all the farmlands, looking at the professional skill that had already completed its cooldown. The novice staff instantly appeared in his hand, and with the frantic surge of primordial energy throughout his body, The effect of plus 10% progress of the professional skill instantly covered all the farmlands. And upon seeing the small stick in their master's hand, the little skeletons, who were originally gathered around Shen Xingyan, very consciously walked to their respective responsible areas, waiting for a new round of labor. After Shen Xingyan finished casting his professional skill, he observed that the growth movement of the crops in front of him was much smaller than before. He knew that they had entered the fruit growth period, and he would soon usher in the harvest moment. With the completion of Shen Xingyan's professional skill effect, the growth progress of potatoes had reached nearly 14 days. Ostensibly, there were still 6 days left until the 20-day maturity period, but for Shen Xingyan, the day after tomorrow would be the potato harvest time. Based on his understanding during this period, no one has yet been able to break through the Star Origin World's record for potatoes, simply because the growth cycle of potatoes is too long. Although all professions, once their rank reaches 20, can stay in the Star Origin world indefinitely. In principle, as long as your mental energy is high enough, you can stay here indefinitely. However, the innate limitations of human mental energy mean that no professional can achieve this at the current stage. Therefore, it is already very difficult for other farmer professions to reach the Star Origin World's record standard, let alone break through it. As can be seen from his previous breakthrough of the wheat record, for long-term crops like this that take more than 10 days, breaking through is not an easy task. Only Shen Xingyan, with the help of his little skeletons, who can be online 24 hours a day, can break through the record without being penalized for task stagnation. Others, however, do not possess this condition. In view of this, Shen Xingyan felt that when the potatoes are harvested, his chances of breaking through the Star Origin world record would be very high. As for the wheat, which he had high hopes for, its growth progress had also reached nearly 9 days. He would be able to check the final experimental results tomorrow night. Am I suspected of taking advantage of the Star Origin world? Calculating the possibility of breaking the record for both crops, Shen Xingyan also thought to himself for no reason. Immediately, he smiled and shook his head. After all, he was just simply farming. Whether or not to give rewards was the Star Origin world's business. What did it have to do with him, an unremarkable farmer? Chapter 72. After Shen Xingyan's professional skill had fulfilled its mission in the farmland, the Xingyuan maintenance prompt quickly reappeared above the farmland. The little skeletons, already experienced, had been prepared since Shen Xingyan picked up the small stick. Feeling a bit restless, they began their labor without any delay. Shen Xingyan was also among the laborers. Even though the current number of little skeletons was enough to deal with the Xingyuan prompt after releasing the skill, Shen Xingyan still chose to join them for caution. Ever since the number of little skeletons reached a certain level, his daily labor time was only for a short while, and he didn't want to be deprived of the chance for normal labor. It was only an hour or two, and Shen Xingyan treated it as relaxation. Inside the farmland at this moment, with Wang Kai's unimpeded command and Shen Xingyan's overall coordination, their labor appeared exceptionally calm, as if they were participating in a game between a master and his summons, filled with ease and comfort. Fortunately, the Xingyuan prompt had no consciousness of its own. If it did, seeing 15 little skeletons and a relaxed Shen Xingyan working together in this small 5-mu farmland, it would probably feel a wave of helplessness. After all, using 16 laborers to deal with the maintenance prompt for 5 mu of land, the manpower was clearly excessive, not at all like something a meticulous calculator would do. Here, the imposing prompt floating above the farmland no longer seemed like a high and mighty commander, but rather a tool for entertainment and pastime for the professionals and little skeletons. This sense of defeat created a huge contrast with the prompt's treatment in other planting spaces. Moreover, whenever the prompt appeared, it would be quickly eliminated, but due to rule restrictions, the prompt could not offer any resistance. Anyone with emotions would feel extremely frustrated. Shen Xingyan and the others, who were laboring, naturally wouldn't think about the prompt's issues. Having farmed in the Star Origin world for so long eliminating maintenance prompts, had already become an instinctive reaction for them. Shen Xingyan labored in the farmland for 2 hours, then, just like yesterday, returned home to exercise his physique until late at night. Then went back to the Xingyuan world to continue resting, finally sleeping until the next morning. After waking up on time, Shen Xingyan bought 2 bottles of physique potions for his sister in the Star Origin Mall and extracted them into the real world, instantly having the money in his wallet. Looking at his increasingly thin money bag, Shen Xingyan couldn't help but shake his head and sigh. This money really doesn't last. I still need to earn money quickly. If this wheat harvest can break a record, I wonder if the Star Origin world can give some gold coins to spend. Although Shen Xingyan thought this, he also knew it was unlikely. After all, based on his understanding of rewards for breaking records and other professional tasks, the Star Origin world basically rewarded some tools or items, rarely directly giving money. In this regard, Xingyuan was like a miser, earning price differences in the Star Origin Mall, rarely giving cash as rewards, and extracting things from Xingyuan to the real world also cost money. Truly, nothing could be done without money. Putting aside his thoughts, Shen Xingyan returned to reality. He secretly gave his sister the physique potion and then sent her to school. After watching his sister enter the school, Shen Xingyan began to consider his next arrangements. The first priority was where to use the comprehension skill, which was about to complete its cooldown. Dragon Elephant Fist had already reached the entry-level realm, and subsequent improvements would definitely become increasingly difficult. Even with the comprehension skills buff, a major breakthrough was unlikely, so it could only be used on other martial skills. Thinking of this, the first thing Shen Xingyan thought of was the subduing demon staff, as every boy seems to have an inexplicable fondness for sticks, and he was no exception. After a brief consideration, he made his choice. Having decided on the comprehension skills arrangement, Shen Xingyan no longer hesitated. He went to a nearby market and spent 200 copper coins to buy the cheapest stick. Although this stick had no attribute bonuses, it was sturdy and durable. Returning home, Shen Xingyan immediately picked up the Subduing Demon Staff manual and began practicing in the yard. At this time, he wasn't afraid of being seen by others, as most professionals were still asleep during this time. Except for those going to school, few people would leave their houses, and his residential area was sparsely populated, making it quite difficult to see anyone. And even if others saw him practicing the Subduing Demon Staff, it wouldn't matter, as such common martial skills were very easy for others to obtain, and his practice wouldn't attract much extra attention. It seems that without the comprehension skill, practicing this martial skill is really difficult. Shen Xingyan, who had been practicing according to the manual for a while, couldn't help but sigh. With his 8 points of comprehension ability, after practicing for this short while, it was merely a superficial imitation. He completely didn't understand the meaning of the moves in the manual, nor would he know whether they were right or wrong. Fortunately, the comprehension skill also completed its cooldown at this time, allowing Shen Xingyan, who had been teased by the Subduing Demon Staff for a while, to officially begin his counterattack. Shen Xingyan put away his playful thoughts from earlier, his expression serious as he silently activated the comprehension skill in his mind. Instantly, that familiar feeling from yesterday surged into his heart again. The high comprehension ability, value bonus made Shen Xingyan's lips curl slightly, and he let out a light chuckle looking at the Subduing Demon Staff martial skill in his hand. He secretly thought, 30 years east of the river, 30 years west of the river, don't. Let's see how I'll deal with you. Thinking this, he didn't delay with his hands, once again carefully examining the Subduing Demon Staff manual. At this moment, in Shen Xingyan's eyes, the mysterious veil of the Subduing Demon Staff seemed to have been directly lifted by him. The previously unintelligible and hazy key points, as well as the many unnoticed problems, all revealed their true forms under the enhancement of the comprehension skill. Not long after, Shen Xingyan read through the manual. With a new insight in his mind, the transparent figure reappeared, but unlike before, he was now holding a transparent stick and began to practice the subduing demon staff. Shen Xingyan, who already had experience with this, didn't delay and slowly followed along with the practice. Chapter 73. The comprehension skill brought about a tremendous improvement in Shen Xingyan's comprehension ability. On the surface, it seemed like a simple 1 + 1 = 2 mathematical relationship. But in reality, it gave him an exponential increase in his understanding of martial skills. The previously obscure and difficult to understand subduing demon staff, after being comprehended and now practically demonstrated, gave Shen Xingyan a sudden feeling of enlightenment that filled him with awe. So, the difference between a genius and an ordinary person is truly immense. There seems to be an unbridgeable chasm between them. If, without the comprehension skill, an ordinary person like me were to practice martial skills, after the comparison just now, the difficulty involved is truly imaginable. It would be far too arduous. Shen Xingyan could hardly imagine someone spending several years practicing a martial skill, yet still failing to grasp its basics. How much patience would that test? Someone with an unstable heart nature would probably break down. No wonder the school doesn't recommend practicing martial skills. While he thought this, his hands were not idle. As he wielded the subduing demon staff, he felt increasingly closer to the transparent figure. After more than 40 minutes, Shen Xingyan felt a sudden change in his body's strength and his staff techniques. There was a clear overall improvement. This feeling was remarkably similar to the sensation he experienced when his dragon elephant fist had its breakthrough last time. Guided by his insight, he instinctively took out his star origin card to check it, subduing demon staff beginner. After activating the martial skill, consume corresponding physique, can temporarily gain strength +2, defense +1. Current progress: 1% seeing the introduction to the subduing demon staff martial skill indeed appear below the dragon elephant fist martial skill. Shen Xingyan immediately smiled and nodded with satisfaction. The subduing demon staff itself leans towards offense, so he wasn't surprised by the 2 points of strength increase. But the addition of a defensive attribute was something he hadn't expected. One must know that even the balanced dragon elephant fist only gained a defensive attribute when it reached 50% progress at the beginner stage. But the subduing demon staff gained this attribute as soon as it entered the beginner stage. It seems that while the subduing demon staff emphasizes attack, its defensive attribute is also quite prominent, embodying the idea that the best defense is a good offense. After checking, Shen Xingyan didn't waste any precious comprehension time and continued to devote the remaining time to the subduing demon staff. More than 10 minutes later, as the comprehension ended and he made his final retrieve of the staff, Shen Xingyan saw the subduing demon staff's progress had increased to 24%. Another martial skill to rely on, this improvement speed is truly fast. After putting the staff away, Shen Xingyan sighed softly with a hint of emotion. In the time that followed, Shen Xingyan continued his physical training as usual, and in the afternoon, he went to the training hall. Everything proceeded systematically. However, his strength, agility, and physique, after the previous period of improvement, naturally did not show any further increase. Shen Xingyan was aware of this and did not feel disappointed. It wasn't until his training was complete and he picked up his sister from school to go home that Shen Xingyan's previously calm mind during training began to fluctuate. Because in a few more hours, his experimental wheat farmland would yield its final results. After having dinner with his sister, Shen Xingyan went straight back to his room. Lying on the bed, his consciousness connected to the star origin space via his star origin card. After a period of chanting, he summoned his 16th little skeleton. He patted the new little skeleton's skull as a greeting, then tossed it to Wang Kai and quickly walked to the 1 mu of wheat field in the center of the farmland. He squatted down and gently weighed the wheat ears, feeling that after a day of growth, their weight had increased somewhat, but the increase was not very significant in his opinion. It seems I can only wait a few hours and then use my farmer skill to see. Thinking this, Shen Xingyan's gaze involuntarily turned to the farmer skill in his attribute panel, which had already finished cooling down. "Now it's all up to you," Shen Xingyan murmured. For the next period, Shen Xingyan did not choose to return to the real world to continue training. Instead, he worked slowly in the farmland with Wang Kai and the others, focusing on the Mahua farmland where the wheat was planted. Although he knew that this behavior would have a negligible impact on the final yield of the wheat, he still did it as a form of psychological comfort. Shen Xingyan worked while waiting for the wheat to mature. When a person is waiting for a known event to happen, it always feels very difficult to endure. During these few short hours, he felt as if days were passing like years. He knew that during his usual training, this amount of time was not nearly enough for him. Often, several hours would pass in the blink of an eye. However, now this time seemed to have stretched out several times longer. In this long wait, time slowly approached the moment when the wheat was about to mature. Having prepared for a long time, Shen Xingyan timed it perfectly and activated his farmer skill. Ding tilde, it is detected that you are using a farmer skill on some crops that are about to mature. The use of this skill may result in failure for these crops. Do you wish to continue? The same star origin prompt appeared again. Shen Xingyan, who had anticipated it, quickly confirmed continue. As Shen Xingyan's thoughts settled, the surrounding crops immediately emitted an unusual sound. This phenomenon allowed him to judge the situation that was about to unfold. Congratulations, you have successfully used a farmer skill. Farmer experience +1. As expected, the success prompt for the skill rang in his ears, and Shen Xingyan's worries instantly diminished by more than half. At this moment, the primordial energy within his body instantly covered all the farmlands through the novice staff. The potatoes began to show obvious changes. Being in their late stage, they were in the process of bearing fruit, and the terrifying effect of progress +10% was evident in these visible changes. However, Shen Xingyan did not pay attention to them. Instead, he focused all his attention on the wheat in front of him. Through his careful observation, he found that the wheat at this time showed the same changes as last time. The grains inside the wheat ears first expanded rapidly, then quickly shrank back, again presenting a sign that seemed like a failure. However, upon seeing this familiar phenomenon, Shen Xingyan's mood not only showed no trace of dejection, but instead he thought with slight excitement. This is it. Last time, I thought this was a sign of failure, but after analysis, I confirmed that this should be a necessary process to improve the yield and quality of crops. As Shen Xingyan thought this, a prompt appeared above this moo of wheat, indicating that the wheat had entered a harvestable state. Chapter 74. Wang Kai, leave 3 little skeletons per moo of potato farmland to handle the star origin maintenance prompts. All other little skeletons, come harvest the wheat. Seeing the ripe, harvestable symbol appear before him, Shen Xingyan quickly gave the order to Wang Kai. After receiving clear instructions from his master, Wang Kai did not hesitate. He merely tilted his head, adorned with a small straw hat, and scanned the other little skeletons one by one. The other little skeletons then began to act in an orderly fashion, as if they were soldiers receiving orders from a general. After giving the order, Shen Xingyan left everything to Wang Kai. He himself immediately began to swing the sickle in his hand, taking the lead in harvesting. Wang Kai, along with the 3 little skeletons assisting with the harvest, also took their small sickles and joined the battle. Not long after, with Shen Xingyan as the main output and the little skeletons assisting, this moo of wheat was quickly harvested. As Shen Xingyan brought back his last sickle, the entire wheat field was now left with only the remnants of wheat stalks. After standing up straight, Shen Xingyan stood there with a somewhat nervous heart. He did not rush to pick up the wheat harvested by Wang Kai and the others, but waited for the star origins prompt. According to past experience, the star origin world would give him the final results of this experiment. At this moment, Shen Xingyan was like a student waiting for his grades to be announced after an exam. The intertwined emotions of anticipation and worry made him feel complex and uneasy. And these emotions did not last long before the Star Origin world directly announced the results. Congratulations! You have planted 600 square meters of wheat, with a harvest yield of 2110 kilograms, and gained 211 farmer profession experience points. The Star Origin world's prompt sound appeared as expected beside Shen Xingyan's ear. In the quiet planting space, its sound was especially loud. When Shen Xingyan heard the number reported in this prompt, his previously anxious heart instantly became clear and bright, as if it had lit up in an instant. At the same time, this prompt, which would seem emotionless to outsiders, felt incredibly pleasant to his ears, like the sound of nature. I remember the last time I broke the record. The per mu yield record for wheat was 2050 kilograms. This time it reached 2110 kilograms. Although it only increased by 60 kilograms, the increase is a bit small, but it still counts as breaking a record. My experiment this time was a genuine success, and this is my third time breaking a record. I wonder what kind of reward the Star Origin will give me this time. Shen Xingyan thought this in his heart, and his hands involuntarily began to rub together. However, the Star Origin world did not keep Shen Xingyan in suspense, directly announcing without any delay, "Congratulations! You have once again broken your previously created record of 2050 kilograms per mu of wheat, successfully achieving a yield of 2110 kilograms. You are specially rewarded with one talent skill growth stone. The Star Origin will make a server-wide announcement. Do you wish to make your information public?" As this prompt from the Star Origin about breaking the record came, Shen Xingyan's originally expectant face suddenly showed a look of surprise. Talent skill growth stone. Is it the talent stone I know about? This confused yet pleasant question instantly occupied Shen Xingyan's mind, causing him to temporarily stop thinking. A moment later, Shen Xingyan, whose ability to think had returned, quickly opened his attribute panel, skipping over all attributes and directly stopping at his talent skill. Looking at the words "all attributes are one," he couldn't help but begin to imagine, with this stone, will my little skeletons, whose all attributes are one, have hope of increasing their strength? Can they be increased to all attributes of 2, or increasing their speed would also be good? Wouldn't their labor efficiency increase exponentially? If there are more of these stones in the future, will his little skeletons also be able to fight alongside him? This reward from the Star Origin completely broadened his thoughts, and in his mind, scenes of little skeletons moving swiftly and going out to kill disasters with him in the future had already begun to appear. Coming back to his senses, he quickly chose not to make it public without waiting for the Star Origin world to urge him. Hurrying to complete the record-breaking process so that he could see what this talent skill growth stone was exactly. But the Star Origin world didn't care what Shen Xingyan was thinking. After receiving Shen Xingyan's choice not to make it public, it immediately issued an announcement to the entire Star Origin world. Professional so-and-so has broken the current record of 2050 kilograms per mu of wheat, successfully achieving a yield of 2110 kilograms, and is specially rewarded with one talent skill growth stone. This is a server-wide announcement. The announcement echoed 3 times consecutively throughout all areas of the Star Origin world, as if reminding all professionals that the Star Origin world would not mistreat any professional who achieved outstanding results. It's wheat again, it's wheat again. What kind of bug does wheat have that it can appear so frequently on the world announcement? Why can't I figure it out no matter what I do? A middle-aged man in luxurious clothes vigorously scratched his hair while staring intently at the wheat field before him. His wheat, which had just reached the heading stage after experiencing a task suspension penalty, showed no sign of surpassing the Star Origin's record. The increase in this wheat record break isn't high. It seems these people have also reached their limit. How crazy! An old man sighed with emotion. I want to report them. These people are cheating, breaking records 3 times in such a short period, and all of them are wheat. It's impossible to achieve without cheating. To hell with that disaster, I want to cheat too. This world announcement from the Star Origin not only made all peasant professional marvel and be shocked, but even the combat professionists started to feel envious. Talent skill growth stone? The star origin world is too generous. Why does a mere farmer deserve such a good item? This item should naturally belong to us combat professionist. The entire star origin world became much noisier than the previous 2 times because of this announcement. However, at this moment, Shen Xingyin would not think about what kind of reaction this announcement would cause. He was now solely focused on whether this talent skill growth stone could improve the attributes of the little skeletons. Seeing that the announcement was complete, the Star Origins reward also flashed past his eyes, already appearing in his spatial backpack. Opening his backpack space, the last item slot inside now quietly held a dark stone, its inkai blackness comparable to a Star Origin card. Shen Xingyin gently took it out. Chapter 75. Looking at the black stone in his hand, Shen Xingyin didn't have time to ponder why it was so purely black. Instead, his attention was completely focused on what kind of attributes it would possess. As his thoughts stirred, the attribute description of the talent skill growth stone in his hand appeared before his eyes. Item: Talent skill growth stone elementary category. Special Dao tool rarity, rare quantity, 1 attribute. Talent skill synchronous growth +1 background. Formed from some special shattered stones in the early stage of Star Origins creation. It developed certain special abilities with the growth and evolution of the Star Origin world. As the description of the talent stone appeared, Shen Xingyin's gaze fixed directly on its attributes. And a series of question marks flashed through his mind. Talent skill synchronous growth +1. What does this mean? Looking at the attribute description of this talent stone, his initially excited mood calmed down. Such a simple attribute description was unexpected. In his opinion, there should at least be specific numerical values. What did growth attribute even mean? Unable to fully understand, Shen Xingyin couldn't help but speculate, simultaneously pondering what kind of result would occur after he used the growth +1 attribute, so that he could have an expectation in mind. When he was in school, he had only heard of its existence during daily studies, but didn't know its specific function. So, without any reference, he could only guess wildly to prepare himself mentally. After imagining the possibilities, Shen Xingyin hesitated only for a moment before no longer dwelling on it, thinking that the truth would be revealed once he saw the results after using it. Having understood this, Shen Xingyin meticulously checked the other attributes. Seeing that the talent stone also had entries like category, rarity, and background, he felt a surge of novelty. After all, he had been awakened for so many days, and this was the first time he had seen these entries, and all these signs indicated that this talent stone was extraordinary. Looking at its name, why is it still an elementary stone? The previous prompt didn't say that. Did the Star Origin world give me a discount? Or is it because I broke the record with wheat? After seeing the suffix of this talent stone's name, Shen Xingyin also began to think. An elementary talent stone, does that mean there will be intermediate or advanced ones in the future? Let's first see what effect the elementary talent stone will have. Shen Xingyin played with the stone in his hand, carefully feeling it. After remembering the sensation, he sighed in his heart. This advanced item, the talent stone, if I don't understand it, I don't understand it. I'll just use it and see the effect. After sighing, he no longer hesitated. With a thought, he directly issued the command to use the talent skill growth stone. As the command was issued, the black talent stone in Shen Xingyin's hand began to slowly disappear. He only felt his whole body suddenly shake, his vision abruptly turned black, and his consciousness seemed to enter a brief blank period. He was startled, not expecting such a strong reaction from using the talent stone. When his consciousness returned and he opened his eyes again, he saw the familiar ceiling. It was then that he realized he had returned to the real world. Did I get kicked out of the Star Origin world? What's going on? Is the reaction to using a talent stone really that big? Awakening in reality, Shen Xingyin instantly jolted upon realizing what was happening. His body, which had been lying on the bed, immediately sat up, and he was extremely surprised by this unexpected event. Coming to his senses, he quickly took out his star origin card and directly reconnected his consciousness to the star origin world, not noticing the changes in his attributes at all. Fortunately, there were no accidents this time entering the star origin world. After he smoothly arrived at his planting space, he slowly calmed down, thinking to himself, "Good, good, I can enter normally. I almost thought using a black stone would lock me in a small dark room." Calmed down, Shen Xingyan looked at the planting space. The little skeletons who had helped him harvest wheat earlier were now distributed to other farmlands, working. Their movements didn't look like they had just started working, which indicated that his previous period of blank consciousness might have lasted longer than just a moment. Although he realized this problem, Shen Xingyan didn't think too much about it. Instead, he directly opened his attribute panel and looked directly at his talent-skilled talent. Summon skeleton growth +1 summons 2 skeleton monsters, with all attributes at 2 for combat cooldown. 24 hours. After looking at the skill description of Summon Skeleton, Shen Xingyan's mouth couldn't help but open slightly, and his eyes seemed to drift. The abnormal situation, after using the talent stone, was instantly thrown to the back of his mind, but his thoughts kept oscillating between the 2s. It's actually a double attribute increase. This talent stone is too amazing. Shen Xingyan first whispered softly, and as he slowly accepted the reality before him, his voice grew louder and louder, and the astonished expression on his face began to transform into an uncontrollable smile. As his excitement grew more intense, Shen Xingyan's desire to share became overwhelming, but this matter couldn't be spoken of externally, which made him feel quite stifled. Looking around, Shen Xingyan's gaze locked onto his capable subordinate. He quickly walked to Wang Kai, who was working, and without a word lifted him high, excitedly spinning him around while loudly saying, "Wang Kai, this time we're really going to take off. You'll have more and more little skeletons in the future. You won't just be a captain anymore, you'll be at least a platoon leader and a regimental commander." As Shen Xingyan shouted loudly, Wang Kai seemed to sense his emotions. It didn't struggle at all, but instead opened its small skeleton hand, enjoying the sensation of being rapidly spun. Shen Xingyan, currently in a state of excitement, was completely oblivious to this. He only knew that his previous desire to go out and kill enemies had become clearer and clearer because of the talent stone. If an elementary talent stone can possess such strong abilities, then as my advanced crops begin to break through and enhance star origin in the future, will I have the chance to obtain intermediate talent stones and advanced talent stones? With this thought, Shen Xingyan's gaze seemed to transmigration through time and space, arriving at the boundary battlefield several years later. With a wave of his hand, a group of high-attribute skeletons appeared there, striking wherever directed, invincible. Chapter 76. It was a while before Shen Xingyan stopped his somewhat distant fantasy. After all, to achieve his previous ideas, it not only required a massive accumulation of talent stones, but also an enormous amount of gold coins as support to extract the upgraded talent skills into the real world. The amount of gold coins was unimaginable for the current Shen Xingyan, although he knew that as his rank increased, the rank of the crop he planted would also get higher and higher, and his monetary income would experience a blowout growth. However, this growth was quite insignificant in the face of that number. Despite this, Shen Xingyan still believed that that day would come sooner or later, and he only needed to persevere until that day. And as he improved faster and faster, his steps towards that place would also become larger. Regarding his current state, if he wanted to reach that level, Shen Xingyan just wanted to say, "The task is heavy and the Tao is long." After venting his excitement, Shen Xingyan gently put Wang Kai down. With the previous experience of almost shaking Wang Kai away, he dared not be too carried away. Carefully checking Wang Kai's current state, Shen Xingyan then noticed something was amiss. "Wang Kai, have you grown taller? Can skeletons develop now?" Shen Xingyan looked at Wang Kai, who seemed a bit sturdier than before, and couldn't help but voice his doubts. He knew he wouldn't get any answer from Wang Kai, so he gestured at Wang Kai for a while. After a careful comparison, he found that Wang Kai really seemed different. Not only was it a bit taller than before, but when he weighed it just now, he also felt it was a bit heavier. Upon closer inspection, he could even notice that the somewhat broken bones when Wang Kai was first summoned seemed to have been reborn, becoming much sturdier and looking more powerful. Thinking of this, Shen Xingyan seemed to have thought of something. With a thought, Wang Kai's attribute panel appeared before him, and the scene he saw next verified his previous guess. Name. Little skeleton can be named owner. Shen Xingyan race, undead skill, none strength, 2 points agility. 2 points physique, 2 points spirit, 2 points health, 20/20 points physical attack, 2 points spell attack. 2 points defense, 2 points speed, 2 points note, can perform various combat actions according to the summoner's instructions. It really is. All attributes have become a value of 2 points. This is great. Shen Xingyan couldn't help but jump slightly as he looked at Wang Kai's attribute panel, expressing his joy. He then checked the attributes of the other little skeletons and found that they all had full attributes of 2, just like Wang Kai. This discovery made Shen Xingyan overjoyed. He couldn't help but look up at the Xingyuan sky, then sighed with a smile on his face. Heaven truly treats me well. It seems that when the talent skill was upgraded, Xingyuan also upgraded Wang Kai and the skeletons I had already summoned. This operation by Star Origin World is truly thoughtful. For Wang Kai and the skeletons to be able to improve with the improvement of the talent, it truly relieved a worry for Shen Xingyan. After all, if Wang Kai and the skeletons still maintained all attributes at 1, from the current perspective, the disadvantages would not be very obvious. But it is conceivable that in the future, as time progresses, Shen Xingyan's summoning skill will most likely grow again, and newly summoned skeletons will become stronger and stronger. If this continues, the role of Wang Kai and the skeletons will become increasingly dispensable. Then the final result would probably be only one. The first summoned skeletons would be eliminated. Shen Xingyan had feelings for Wang Kai and these little skeletons who accompanied him through his novice period, so how could he bear to eliminate them? And now, with such a result, it was undoubtedly great news for Shen Xingyan. After seeing this situation, Shen Xingyan, with a smile on his face, pressed Wang Kai's straw-hatted head, then let them continue to work in the farmland, while he himself went to the wheat field and collected the wheat that Wang Kai and the skeletons had harvested into his backpack space. At this time, after separating the wheat grains from the wheat stalks, he began to check the results of this harvest. Item. Wheat outstanding plus value, 13 copper coins quantity, 2110 attribute, a good materials for making food. The quality of the wheat has actually improved again. It seems that while intensive cultivation of crop is not so obvious in terms of yield, it is quite significant in improving the quality of crop. Shen Xingyan nodded contentedly, looking at the value of 13 copper coins per kilogram of wheat. Feeling even more delighted. After all, nothing is more physically and mentally pleasing than real money. I didn't expect that just a 1-rank increase in outstanding quality would increase the value of wheat by 3 copper coins, which is 1 copper coin more than the previous 1 quality increase. I had heard that the higher the quality, the higher the value increase, and this has now been verified. He then checked the attributes of the separated wheat stalks item. Wheat stalks outstanding plus value, 3 copper coins quantity, 1100 attribute, a good basic material. Seeing the wheat stalks also improved, Shen Xingyan nodded slightly. Then sold all the wheat and wheat stalks without leaving any, earning a total of 30 silver and 730 copper coins. His wallet also recovered again, reaching a value of 52 silver and 630 copper coins. Opening his attribute panel, Shen Xingyan checked his professional skill experience. Adding the 211 experience points obtained from this wheat harvest, he only reached 246/500, accumulating only half of the experience needed for a rank up, so a rank up was impossible. After putting away the panel, Shen Xingyan looked at the farmland with residual wheat stubble in front of him, shaking his head with a bitter smile and muttered to himself, before. Every time a harvest was completed, the record-breaking reward would include a farmland reward. And Xingyuan could also conveniently plow its land once, so I didn't need to worry about plowing anymore. Now, it's good. It's estimated that the value of the talent skill growth stone is too high. And Xingyuan directly took back the farmland that was rewarded every time, which means I still have to teach Wang Kai and the skeletons how to plow. Shen Xingyan muttered to himself, reminiscing about the thoughtful service of Star Origin World before. Opening the Star Origin Mall, Shen Xingyan spent a few hundred copper coins to buy some shovels, then called Wang Kai over and taught it the labor skill of plowing hand by hand, asking it to bring a few little skeletons to help. And he himself started to act directly. While plowing the land, his mind also began to think about what should be planted in this acre of farmland next. Chapter 77. Based on my assumption that the final professional skill can increase the yield and quality of crop. Judging by the low yield of wheat this time, the possibility of planting wheat again to break the Star Origin yield record is already not high. After all, I have already compressed the time for casting the professional skill to when it is about to mature, which can be said to have reached the point where it cannot be improved further. Although it is possible to achieve the goal of improvement through methods similar to intensive cultivation, the probability is small, so the pace of planting wheat can only be temporarily stopped. So next, can I choose to plant a crop that can mature in one day in this one farmland, and then harvest it on the same day as the potatoes, making it convenient for him to unify the planning of all farmlands? Shen Xingyan subconsciously thought in a normal mindset, like most peasant professional, thinking of unified management of all farmlands, which indeed facilitated his daily operations. Moreover, the potatoes will mature tomorrow. If calculated based on the average harvest that a general peasant professional can obtain, each acre of potatoes would yield about 3,000 kilograms. Then, 4 acres of farmlands would be 12,000 kilograms. According to what I understand, planting level 2 potato seeds will result in 1 experience point for every 5 kilograms harvested, so my final experience income will be 2,400 points. Based on the previously understood increasing pattern of experience required for rank. A rough estimate is that these experience points should allow my professional rank to increase by 4 ranks, reaching rank 9. However, this is only a conservative estimate. What if my acquired potato yield breaks the Star Origin potato yield record? Even if each acre yields 300 kilograms more than 3,000 kilograms, it would be very simple to reach rank 10. At that time, under the blessing of planting privileges, he would be able to uniformly plant level 3 crop seeds. It should be known that level 3 crop, whether in terms of professional experience or monetary value, will receive a substantial improvement compared to the current level 2 crop. This idea began to brew in Shen Xingyan's mind, and under normal circumstances, doing so would undoubtedly be the best. He would only need to wait 2 days, and these 5 acres of wheat would all be planted with higher-level crop. However, after thinking for a while and weighing the pros and cons, he denied this idea. Nothing else, this idea, in principle, only simply considered the aspects of crop and planting convenience, but did not consider the matter of crop yield breaking the record and the rewards given by Star Origin World, let alone fully utilizing this aspect. Shen Xingyan thought of the rewards obtained from breaking the Star Origin record 3 times. Whether it was the 2 professional privileges or the talent stone, all of which made him exclaim in surprise. Although he did not know how much reaction these things would cause in the outside world, for him, their impact was indeed very huge. All 3 rewards were existences that became more powerful the later they were. From this, it can be seen how great their value is, completely beyond the height that the current farming harvest can achieve. Therefore, planning the next planting cannot be simply from the perspective of crop, but needs to consider both. And when the 2 conflict, breaking the record needs to be placed in the most important position. After Shen Xingyan determined such a direction, he couldn't help but focus his thoughts on his previous conjecture about professional skills. Combining the current situation, a flash of inspiration instantly flashed through his mind, and he precisely grasped it. This flash of inspiration made him stop his movements, and then an idea slowly began to form in his mind. Why don't I temporarily continue to plant potatoes in this farmland? After the other 4 acres of potatoes are harvested, my professional rank will also reach rank 10, and I will be able to plant level 3 crop. At that time, I will stagger the planting time of level 3 seeds for each farmland by 1 day. Then, when potatoes and other crop are 10% away from maturing, I will control the casting time of the professional skill to adjust the maturity time and yield of the crop, thereby achieving the goal of exploiting Star Origin World. Once this idea of exploiting appeared in Shen Xingyan's mind, it seemed to have taken root and sprouted completely, and quickly grew into a towering tree that he couldn't shake off no matter how hard he tried. His eyes also became brighter and brighter. After he completely perfected this idea, he couldn't help but look up at the sky of the profession space, and a slightly awkward expression appeared on his face. From Shen Xingyan's performance, it can be seen that the emergence of this plan made him feel a little embarrassed. After all, ever since he came to Star Origin World, his journey has been very smooth. First, the mutation of his professional skill illuminated his dim professional career. Then there was the surprise of the talent skill, which allowed Little Skeleton not only not to disappear, but also to take care of his farmland 24 hours a day online. And finally, the Star Origin record-breaking reward. All of this made him feel that Star Origin World was full of goodwill towards him, and he felt that Star Origin World was a blessed land for him. However, now he wanted to scheme against this blessed land, which made him instinctively feel a little inappropriate. However, when he thought of the generous rewards given by Star Origin World after breaking the record, and the talent stone that might appear again, his embarrassed emotion was instantly suppressed in a small corner, unable to stir up any waves. After all, in reality, he is surrounded by disasters. If he doesn't improve his strength as soon as possible, who knows when a disaster tide will suddenly break out, and then he won't even have the opportunity to improve his strength. Due to this demand, he had no choice but to temporarily put this instinct aside. I'm sorry, Brother Xingyuan, it's all for life. I am also forced by life to resort to this. Please bear with me. I apologize to you first here. Please forgive me, please forgive me. Shen Xingyan, who had successfully convinced himself, quickly put down the shovel in his hand, clasped his hands together, and quickly bowed to the sky of Star Origin. After bowing a few times, the guilt in Shen Xingyan's heart was also greatly reduced. Immediately, thinking that he would be able to break Star Origin's yield record every 1 or 2 days, thereby obtaining a large number of rare Dao tools and rewards, Shen Xingyan's mouth unconsciously began to curl up. This made the force with which he swung the shovel in his hand also grow stronger, and he was full of motivation. If Star Origin World could perceive that Shen Xingyan had such an idea, perhaps the sky he had just bowed to would not be so calm. It is very possible that a few bolts of heavenly lightning would strike Shen Xingyan back to the real world. Chapter 78. Not long after, this 1 mu of farmland was tilled through the combined efforts of Shen Xingyan and Wang Kai and his little skeletons. During this time, while Shen Xingyan pondered his wool-shearing plan, he also frequently checked Wang Kai and his little skeleton's labor, wanting to see their current work efficiency. With the strengthening of their talent skill, Wang Kai and his little skeleton's bodies also received an all-attribute +1 enhancement. Although for a professional, such an improvement is not as significant as the attributes gained from increasing 1 rank. But for Wang Kai and his little skeletons, the extent of their improvement was doubled. Without stamina limitations, their current labor efficiency also increased accordingly, reaching a level where one could do the work of 2 previously. Originally, to manage a farmland planted with rank 2 seeds, 2 little skeletons were needed to maintain easy daily operations. If they encountered the maintenance period after releasing a professional skill, 3 little skeletons would be needed to avoid appearing so strenuous. And according to Shen Xingyan's observation, just now, after their attributes were improved, 2 of the little skeletons were already sufficient to handle the star origin prompts after casting skills, and they did so with ease. Shen Xingyan was very pleased with this discovery, as the higher the labor efficiency of the little skeletons, the faster they could complete the star origin maintenance prompts. At the same time, the concept of intensive cultivation could be thoroughly implemented, which also had a certain positive effect on the final crop yield. Moreover, once he raises his professional skill to rank 10, he can plant rank 3 seeds. At that time, the frequency of rank 3 seed maintenance prompts will be incomparable to rank 1 and rank 2 seeds. When he was looking up information before, upon seeing content in this area, he noticed it was only briefly mentioned, without specific data on the difficulty increase. He subconsciously guessed that the difficulty should not be too low. After all, according to normal leveling, to plant rank 3 seeds, the peasant professional would have already reached rank 30, making them bona fide advanced professionals. Each of their attributes would be at least 40 points or more. The star origin prompts that could only be dealt with by such physical quality, for the current Shen Xingyan, could only be handled by the little skeleton's human wave tactics. Out of concern for the unknown, Shen Xingyan felt that the higher the efficiency of the little skeletons, the greater his confidence when dealing with future rank 3 seeds. Thinking this, Shen Xingyan purchased the potato seeds needed for 1 mu of land from the Star Origin Mall and planted them together with Wang Kai and his little skeletons. During this time, he looked at Wang Kai and his little skeletons and couldn't help but think, with the current number of little skeletons, maintaining the daily tasks for rank 3 seeds should not be a problem, but ensuring the maintenance tasks after a 10% progress increase is not guaranteed. The number of little skeletons is still too small. Fortunately, after the talent upgrade, 2 little skeletons can be summoned each time, which greatly increases the accumulation speed of the skeleton legion. Moreover, Wang Kai and his little skeletons seem to have a berserk skill. If it's really not enough in the short term, they can use the berserk skill. That efficiency should increase a lot. Speaking of berserk, I don't know if their berserk state is an all-attribute +1 or an all-attribute +2. With this thought, Shen Xingyan's curiosity was also piqued. After all, at that time, Wang Kai and his little skeletons were in an all-attribute 1 state. And the berserk state also increased all attributes by 1 point, which made him unsure about the characteristics of this hidden skill. But he was currently planting potatoes, so he was not in a hurry. Under the skilled planting of Shen Xingyan and his laborers, this 1 mu of farmland also completed the planting of potatoes. This plot of land, not having been catalyzed by Shen Xingyan's professional skill, appeared bare. From a distance, it looked like a scar in the very center of the farmland, making Shen Xingyan eager to immediately cast a skill and green it up. However, the reality was that to remove this scar, he would have to wait until tomorrow. Once the planting task was completed, Shen Xingyan no longer managed anything else, instead handing everything over to the little skeletons. After walking to the edge of the field, he called Wang Kai to his side and, pointing to a nearby little skeleton, said, "Wang Kai, can you have this little skeleton demonstrate the berserk skill?" Shen Xingyan naturally wasn't willing to let Wang Kai himself use this blood-draining skill. After all, it's better to be safe than sorry. His Wang Kai couldn't have the slightest mishap, so he could only casually select a little skeleton as the test subject. The reason he spoke to Wang Kai this way, instead of directly issuing commands himself, was also because he didn't know how to make the little skeleton cast this skill. After all, their attribute panel currently didn't have this skill, and he didn't even know how to make it display, let alone activate it. Although he was the master of the little skeletons, his understanding of these little skeletons was only limited to their current attributes. Upon hearing Shen Xingyan's question, Wang Kai seemed to misunderstand what his master wanted to express. slightly tilting his small skeleton head to the side, as if expressing his confusion. Seeing Wang Kai like this, Shen Xingyan also stroked his chin, pondering a bit. It seems even Wang Kai doesn't know what the berserk skill is, or perhaps my description made Wang Kai unsure how to act. Somewhat confused, Shen Xingyan couldn't help but recall the last time the little skeletons used the berserk skill. At that time, under the double speed star origin prompt, he had given Wang Kai the command to have all the little skeletons work with all their might, which led to the appearance of this hidden skill. Thinking of this, he seemed to have figured out the correct command and said to Wang Kai, "Wang Kai, have this little skeleton work with all its might." As Shen Xingyan issued this command, Wang Kai's originally puzzled posture instantly straightened, and he looked towards the little skeleton Shen Xingyan had designated. Shen Xingyan, who was closely observing this little skeleton, noticed that when Wang Kai's gaze fell upon it, the little skeleton clearly paused for a moment. Then, as if activated, accompanied by a -2 blood loss prompt floating above its head. It seemed to have been given an accelerator, and its working speed suddenly increased by more than double compared to before. After seeing the blood loss prompt above the little skeleton's head, Shen Xingyan's originally serious expression broke into a smile because he already knew the result of this experiment. He then happily opened the little skeleton's attribute panel. He saw that the little skeleton's 4 basic attributes had all become 4 points, with some temporary marks next to them. Chapter 79. The berserk skill of Wang Kai and the other little skeletons can actually double their base attributes. It truly lives up to its reputation as a mysterious hidden skill. The increase is simply amazing. After seeing the little skeleton's attributes post-berserk, Shen Xingyan confirmed his previous thoughts. While delighted, he couldn't help but sigh with emotion. It's a pity the little skeleton's base attributes are still too low. Even though the berserk skill doubles their attributes, they can't participate in combat at this level. Moreover, they don't have rank attributes, so it's impossible to increase their attribute values by raising their rank. The only way I know to improve them right now is by using talent stones to enhance their talent skills, thereby achieving the goal of increasing their attributes. If they could level up, that would be fantastic. Thinking this, Shen Xingyan couldn't help but shake his head in regret, then tapped his own head and gave a wry smile. Was he being too greedy? As the saying goes, a man's greed knows no bounds, which perfectly described Shen Xingyan's current state. Fortunately, a long life of hardship had given him an instinctive aversion to such greed. This thought was suppressed almost as soon as it arose. He had long since mastered the art of casting aside unhappy emotions. Otherwise, even with Chu Wai, his little son, shining on him for so many years, he would not have become who he was today. Shen Xingyan refocused his slightly deviated gaze on the little skeletons before him. Looking at the description of the berserk skill and then thinking about his own talent skill, he couldn't help but think, in the future. As he breaks star origin world records more frequently, the probability of obtaining talent stones will gradually increase, and the little skeleton's attributes will improve faster and faster. Consequently, the effect of the berserk skill will also become better. I should, most likely, truly become a bona fide combatant in the future. Thinking this, Shen Xingyan's hand gently reached forward, as if the thought in his heart was already within reach. The smile on his face grew even wider, and he gently patted the small straw hat Wang Kai was wearing, looking straight ahead. Wang Kai, at this moment, was also looking at the little skeletons in front of him. Although he couldn't see the attribute panel, through their performance and his master's satisfied laughing state, he seemed to understand the meaning of his master's initial command. A faint deep blue glow flashed in his large skeleton eye sockets, disappearing in an instant. Shen Xingyan, who was excitedly gazing into the distance, naturally didn't notice Wang Kai's abnormality. After a long while, his emotions slowly calmed down. A journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step. Shen Xingyan also knew this saying. In his opinion, although the path ahead was full of light, he needed to be able to reach it. Stay steady, don't be reckless, survive until then. This was what he needed to do right now. Shen Xingyan let Wang Kai go about his work, while he surveyed the entire farmland. His careful observation revealed that the current 5 acres of farmland could no longer fully meet the needs of Wang Kai and the other little skeletons. The increase in attributes led to an increase in work efficiency. With the farmland area remaining unchanged, the little skeletons were already showing a clear surplus of labor. Having been accustomed to frugality since childhood, he felt regretful about this phenomenon but was also helpless. He also hoped that, when the potatoes were harvested tomorrow, the record-breaking reward would once again include land. Otherwise, before planting level 3 seeds, the little skeleton's excess labor would probably be wasted. What a happy problem. Shen Xingyan sighed as he lay down in his usual spot, hands behind his head, and fell asleep with a relaxed and comfortable expression. The scene in his dream made the corners of his mouth curl slightly. Today's surprise was once again displayed in his mind in another form. Accompanied by such sweet dreams, the second day arrived as scheduled. Shen Xingyan, refreshed, had just woken up when he saw Wang Kai and the others gathered around him. He was already used to such a scene, so he wasn't surprised at all. However, from his current lying angle, he could clearly see that they had grown much taller and were starting to exude a sense of oppression. For their master, Shen Xingyan, this sense of oppression automatically transformed into a feeling of safety. Sitting up, Shen Xingyan smiled and patted Wang Kai, who was standing beside him, then looked towards the farmland. At this moment, in each acre of the farmland, 2 little skeletons were working in an orderly fashion, their movements smooth and skilled, as if labor had evolved into a skill. All the other little skeletons were gathered around him. This discovery made Shen Xingyan look at Wang Kai with some surprise, not expecting him to make such an arrangement. While ensuring the smooth completion of the command, he also protected his master. This act of considering both aspects was very thoughtful. Wang Kai, you're becoming a more and more competent captain. When you have more subordinates in the future, I'll appoint 2 more squad leaders for you, and you'll be promoted to battalion commander. That way, you'll have less to worry about. Shen Xingyan patted Wang Kai contentedly, promising him a tangible, achievable future. After all, he could now summon 2 little skeletons every day, and their accumulation speed was incomparable. He estimated that this promise could be fulfilled in just a few days. And as for Shen Xingyan's promise, Wang Kai seemed to understand, gently shaking his little skeleton head to express his joy. After making his promise, Shen Xingyan strolled around the farmland, checked the growth of the potatoes, and then, satisfied, logged off and returned to the real world. After Shen Xingyan left, Wang Kai, the skeleton captain, slowly surveyed the surrounding little skeletons. His finger bone gently scratching his skull, as if pondering who would be suitable to be the next squad leader. If Shen Xingyan were here, he would undoubtedly be astonished by Wang Kai's human-like actions. Back in reality, Shen Xingyan didn't rush to get out of bed. Instead, he happily checked the money in his star origin card. Although the amount harvested this time wasn't much, it was still a form of income. However, while checking his wallet, he inadvertently noticed a change in the attribute panel, which instantly made his happy eyes freeze. Chapter 80, Talent. Summon skeleton growth +1 summons 2 skeleton monsters with all attributes at 2 to battle cooldown 24 hours. At this moment, Shen Xingyan stared intently at this information in his attribute panel. He couldn't believe his eyes, thinking he was hallucinating. However, after rubbing them hard, he found the information was still the same. This made him fall into a daze. After slowly accepting the fact, he began to ponder. Why did my talent in the real world also improve? Didn't they say that extracting anything from Star Origin world requires money as a basis? This surprise was really too great for Shen Xingyan. One should know that extracting a single attribute point from Star Origin world to the real world costs 10 gold coins. Then for something like a skill, and a talent skill at that, it would be even more astronomically expensive. Previously, he had tried to extract his upgraded professional skill to the real world. But the system in Star Origin world didn't even tell him exactly how much money was needed, directly prompting him with insufficient funds, cannot extract. The simple and direct prompt made Shen Xingyan feel that his action was somewhat overestimating his own abilities. And this was just a professional skill, not to mention a talent skill. How expensive it could be was something Shen Xingyan dared not even imagine at that moment. But the current reality was that such a sky-high price talent skill had so smoothly appeared in the real world. Anyone would be astonished by such a thing. Shen Xingyan forced himself to calm down. After thinking it over, he found there was only one suspicious point in the entire process. After he used the talent stone, he was kicked out of Star Origin World. Is it because of the talent stone? Shen Xingyan subconsciously focused his thoughts on the talent stone, and his mind began to recall the attributes of the talent skill growth stone. Talent skill synchronized growth +1. After thinking about it word for word, he locked his thoughts on the word synchronized. Immediately, an incredible but reasonable idea appeared in his mind. Does this synchronized not only mean synchronizing the attribute growth of Wang Kai and the others, but also synchronizing it to the real world? The appearance of this thought made Shen Xingyan immediately jump off the bed, repeatedly thinking to himself, "No way is this stone that abnormal." Combining this with his experience of being kicked out of Star Origin World after using the talent stone, he immediately felt that this idea in his mind was most likely the correct answer. The talent stone can synchronize to the real world. Why haven't I heard anyone else talk about such shocking news, or has the information been deliberately hidden? As expected, this world is not as simple as it seems. Shen Xingyan thoroughly digested this exciting information in his heart, and at the same time, his craving for the talent stone became even stronger. No, this is too tempting. Breaking the record is a must. In the early morning of this 6th base, in a small house near the border, an 18-year-old youth made his firm decision because of a special discovery. However, this youth did not know how much turmoil had been caused among various families and groups, both open and hidden, in the real world, all for this small stone, ever since the announcement from Star Origin World began. Those who knew the function of the talent stone and the record-breaking deeds of a certain professional through various channels were very clear about the significance of finding this person for themselves or their organizations. The inherent temptation caused them to transition from merely having a vague desire to now being eager to put it into actual action. For various reasons, such as desire or protection, people were frantically searching for the certain professional mentioned in the announcement. Every base was also investigating the peasant professional in their jurisdiction, checking for any abnormal behavior or suspicious points. Except for a very few advanced peasant professional, almost all peasant professional were on the list for this investigation. Any abnormal individuals would be guarded separately and thoroughly investigated. If such a thing were to happen within the frontline professional group, it would probably not be so easy to implement, but this time the targets were peasant professional. After all, in this era where combat power determines everything, a lifestyle profession like farmer basically belongs to the background of the era, with no ability to resist in terms of combat power. Therefore, the implementation of this decision proceeded very smoothly in every region. 6th base was naturally no exception. None of the 5 major districts were spared, and all began a vigorous investigation. Shen Xingyan had just returned home after sending his sister to school. He hadn't even had time to pick up his subduing demon staff to practice when he heard an alert from the defense sensing system. Just as Shen Xingyan turned to check, there was a rapid knocking at the door. Open the door, routine inspection, open quickly. As the loud shout ended, faint complaints could be heard from outside the door. This is really damn weird. Suddenly, we received an order to check these peasant professional one by one according to their names. I don't know what it's for, but it's delaying me from killing monsters. I was fighting an elite monster. Now, the monster killing reward is definitely not mine. Damn it. The person who had just knocked on the door spoke with annoyance, his words full of impatience. All right, who isn't? Stop complaining. I heard this investigation is related to last night's announcement. They want to find out who that certain professional in the announcement is. Another person's voice also came. What's the use of investigating that? The person doesn't want to be known, so they must have made preparations. What can we little soldiers distinguish? It's just nonsense. The first stop is such a remote place. Let's finish checking quickly and leave. The inner ring is more comfortable. The two thought the room's owner was still in Star Origin World, so they began to complain softly outside while waiting for the person to come out of Star Origin World. Shen Xingyan vaguely heard their conversation and immediately frowned. When he first heard someone knocking on the door, he had originally thought it was a follow-up to the giant rat incident. He had already subconsciously prepared for battle. But he didn't expect it to be something caused by the Star Origin World announcement. Shen Xingyan could guess the purpose of these people. It was most likely due to the talent stone. After all, what strong person could refuse such a huge temptation as the improvement of their own talent? Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this audiobook, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more updates and new uploads.